we wait for others to join us, we would like to start now. And I'll be handing over to Mr. Olufemi. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Yetunde. Good evening to all our guest speaker. It's a pleasure to have you all on this call, and good evening to all our participants. Uh, it's wonderful to be on this edition of Roundtable series again. It's always interesting to have roundtable series where we have series of discussions around various SDGs and focusing on a particular topic. And interestingly, today we are considering a very important aspect. Of course, permit me to say that there is a proverb in our area that says that when food has been taken care of, then little it is to poverty. So let me make use of the indigenous language, that's the Yoruba language, to express that for those that understand Yoruba properly. When it's ibi bá ti kúrò nínú ìṣẹ́, àbùṣe, ìṣẹ́ bùṣe. That is, when someone doesn't feel hungry, when you are not hungry, you have food on your table to eat, there's a little worry you have about your state of being poor. At least when you can feed your tummy, you can feed people around you. Of course, there's a little worry when it comes to your state of am I very poor? Am I that poor? So it's a very important topic we are considering today as we are focusing on zero, no, I mean, we are focusing on no hunger. We know that food is very important. Virtually everybody. Is there anybody that can't do without food? Do you have someone that you can live without food? No, it's no. So zero hunger as SDG 2 is very important for us to discuss at this point in time. And when we even consider what we are facing across board, from our climate crisis, we know that we have a lot of issues around food security. So climate change has caused a lot of issue around farming, food production, and all that. So it's a wonderful topic we are considering this evening, adapting a new realities of sustainable food system in a changing climate. It's important we consider this because, yes, farmers who are the bedrock of our food production are beginning to worry about what the climate is, how the climate is treating them. It's no longer the old story we have whereby everybody knows a particular time that you go to the farm, you clear your farm area. Interestingly, I'm a farmer myself. So you go to the farm, you do your clearing, you cultivate, and then you do your planting, and you know that at a very particular time of the month there will be rainfall, and you expect your crop to germinate. You already set your harvesting time, and without doubt, you definitely have your yield, and you go home happy. But that's not the story we have today. Rain might start at the expected time, but unexpectedly it can stop, and you begin to worry, what's the next thing? And once you plant, your annual crop start counting days. They don't care if the rain falls or not, they just keep counting. So if rain falls, they make use of the water that is supplied, and if rain did not fall, they make use of the little thing they are supplied by the soil, and that definitely affects their yield. So it's important for us to take a close look on how to have a very wonderful farming system, not even on crop production alone, but down to animal rearing, livestock, and all that. We all depend on each other. So it's important for us to take a critical study of this topic this afternoon. I believe that all our guest speakers are on ground to do justice to this, and we are definitely going to have a wonderful time this evening. So on this note, I want to welcome everybody on behalf of ADEF Africa and the entire leadership, on behalf of the entire guest speaker we have this evening and all our members, those that will be joining via Zoom and via YouTube. We say a very big welcome to you, and we believe that this evening discussion is going to be a wonderful one. Thank you. You are welcome once again. Over to you, Yetunde.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And I must say, I love this topic for this month because it is about food, you know. I love food, and I know almost everybody loves that. As Mr. Femi has said, when a situation of food is solved, there's limited of problems. So you're all welcome once again, and this is going to be a wonderful section. As we can see, everyone is here now to just learn more about how we can improve food in our communities. And I'll be introducing our guest speakers at this moment, our wonderful guest speakers who will be learning a lot from. And I'm so ready to hear from them. Like I want to hear more because, as I've said before, I love food, and I know almost everybody to do us that. So and it's good for us to learn on how we are going to adapt to it and make a good use of it as we are talking about adapting to new realities of sustainable food system in a changing climate. Yes. So I'll start with introducing Mr. Shedrack. I'm sorry, I'm not good with names, so I think Agoki. I hope I'm able to pronounce that surname well, Mr. Shedrack Agoki. Okay. I'll be reading out his profile now. So, Mr. Shedrack Agaki is a global food system youth leader and is also a climate change and food system communication consultant. He has a master's degree in international studies from the University of Nairobi, and he has over 10 years of experience as a legislative and policy researcher in the Parliament of Kenya. Wow, you're welcome, sir. So he said he is committed to driving food system transformation and advancing effective climate action across Kenya and the Africa continent. His work is focused on integrating policy and communication to deliver sustainable solutions that address climate and food security. You can please help me welcome him with some clap as I introduce other guest speakers today. So please help me welcome him. Welcome, sir, Mr. Shedrack Agaki. You're welcome, sir. So I'll be introducing next Madam Deborah. Sorry. Okay. I'll be introducing Madam Deborah Ade Yonolu. I hope I'm able to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. Madam Deborah Ade Yonolu. I'm so sorry once again. So, okay, Madam Deborah is one of our guest speaker for today, and she's an agricultural and developmental economist with over a decade of experience working with rural farmers and households across Africa. And so I have okay, Madam Deborah has dedicated her career to improving farmers' livelihood through value addition and agribusiness strategies. She contributed to increasing the profitability in Arabic gum farmers in Senegal, wow, reducing poverty in alignment with SDG 1. That's fantastic, man. Okay, starting as an intern on an European Union project, Madam Deborah lived and worked directly with Arabic gum farmers, gaining valuable insight through on and focus group discussion. Over time, she advanced to leadership role, currently managing over 8,000 acres of farmland, including oil palm, cocoa, overseeing more than 100 staff and 1,000 farmers. That is wonderful. Our work also involved managing a 6 ton per hour palm oil processing mill. Well, beyond our professional achievements, Madam Deborah is deeply committed to welfare of farmers, supporting education for children, and advocating for women's health in rural farming communities. In her free time, she enjoys watching movies and traveling with her family. Madam Deborah is passionate about improving the lives of African rural farmers and can be contacted. Okay, you're welcome, Madam Deborah. Please help me welcome her with a resounding clap as I introduce the third guest speaker for today. You're welcome, ma. Please, you can also use the chat box to welcome her. So I'll be introducing the next guest speaker, who is Mr. Emeka. Okay, I'm sorry, I won't be pronouncing the surname because I don't want to murder the surname. So, Mr. Emeka is one of our guest speaker for today, and Mr. Emeka, with a lifelong passion for African agriculture and solving climate change issues, Mr. Emeka advocates for sustainable and climate-smart practices to enhance food security in Africa, starting from Nigeria. Inspired by his childhood experience with home garden, he founded the Coalition of African Youth in Modern Agriculture in 2016 to mobilize youth in championing food security and climate action across the continent. Mr. Emeka has nearly a decade of volunteer experience in agriculture and rural development, with expertise in vegetable farming, agricultural training for rural and urban farmers, and agricultural extension services. He can best describe as a serial volunteer because he freely gives of his energy and time to causes that seek to better a lot of humanity. Mr. Emeka is motivated to better the lot of Africans who live below the poverty line through agricultural capacity building because of his lived experiences. Mr. Emeka is also an advocate of SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 4, Quality Education, and SDG 13, which is Climate Action. It promotes STEM education in rural communities for a just, prosperous future for all. Typically, Mr. Emeka never gives up until a problem is solved, and he insists on making agriculture attractive for the future generation. This is wonderful. As you can see that all our guest speakers today are wonderful people and they are making wonderful impact. So welcome everyone. I want to start with Mr. Shedrack. Can we hear your voice, sir? You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Walunde. So I also don't want to mispronounce your name, but you've really tried. So don't worry.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So I need to appreciate you and your organization for inviting us to have this roundtable conversation. It is important because when people sit on the table to discuss, there is cross-pollination of ideas. Right now, I'm seated in Nairobi, Kenya, and you people are seated in different parts of Nigeria from other countries. And this is amazing. And this is what I've been calling for. And this is what I want to work for. Finally, the end goal should be to create a coalition of young people, passionate enough like Emeka, to build the capacity of the communities, of the farmers, to ensure that they produce enough food to feed our people. I like what the Abioye said, that if you are not hungry, you have no issues. I mean, you will have nothing to worry about. But if you are hungry, you'll be angry, and then different other things will happen, and that is what we want to avoid. So I think I need to leave it there, because you just wanted to get my name and get some few views from me. I think we proceed from there, but I give it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Shedrack. It's nice to have you on this call this moment. And would like to have Madam Deborah too. Let's have you. Let's hear your wonderful voice.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I'm honored to be here. I want to appreciate the organizer of this talk. I want to commend the effort in things that the SDG goals are passionately pursued. I want to appreciate your effort, and like others have said, food security is a big issue. And looking at the way the climate changes drastically, that's unpredictable. If we do not handle it with all care, it will be escalate the problem of food insecurity that we already have even in developing countries. And I'm also looking forward to learn from everybody as we discuss together. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, ma. And it is nice to have you here also. So we'd like to hear your voice too, Mr. Maker. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Confirm you can hear me. Am I loud
Yes,
enough?
we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here this evening to be discussing a topic I'm very passionate about, that is the nexus between climate change and food security. So I hope it's going to be a wonderful time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And thank you all for joining us presently. We are about to start the roundtable proper, and I am seeing the possibility of learning a lot from our guest speakers today. So to start with, Mr. Shedrack, I would like to ask you a question, and we want some wonderful answer from that. So what are the biggest challenges farmers face with growing food as the climate changes in the community, in the environment, as in the region? Maybe let's say Africa as a whole, then we go beyond that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that wonderful question. I think that has been the challenge, and that is, those are some of the issues that people are asking. What is really the challenge? I want to give an example and give a challenge that I think is most fundamental. Soil is the most important element in production of food. Unfortunately, what we have in most African countries, our soils are not healthy. Our soils are not healthy, and that is also being compounded by other issues, and that is where climate change comes in. So what is the what's the biggest challenge that farmers are facing in Africa? Number one is determining the kind of soils that we have in different agroecological zones. That's number one. After determining the kind of soils we have, that's profiling the kind of soils that we have. The other thing then becomes, what is the health status of our soils in Africa? That's still missing, because ideally, scientifically, you're supposed to do soil testing within maximum of 3 years. But ideally, you're supposed to do soil testing every time that you want to plant a different crop. But do farmers have the capacity to do that? No. So that is where that challenge to be solved, policy coming. How do governments come in and help farmers to determine their soil profile, determine their soil health, and then determine what exactly do they need to restore the soils, so that now when farmers are planting, they are able to produce enough. Because if you are sick, your productivity goes down. So you are first to take care of your health before you talk about productivity of you as a person. And the soil, the same thing. We have to determine what is the health status, restore the health status to a complete and holistic health. Then from there, then we can start, imagining of producing enough. So I've tackled that. So the other issue is right now, the other challenge that we have is there is the shift from the rural to the urban. So the migration is another issue that farmers are facing. That most productivity take place in the rural areas. But then in Africa, the average age of a farmer has been said to be 60 and above. These people don't have the energy. So then we need to start having a conversation of how do we get young people to the farms. And for that, I think we start now looking at how do we start building the communities and how do we start reintegrating ourselves as young people to the communities to make agricultural productivity improve by tackling the challenges that I've mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And that was very, very insightful. Yes, these are the things that we need to look up to. And I can see that the migration is really, really happening now. People are moving from the rural to urban. And who are those that are going to be the farmers if we have everybody in the city? So that was very, very insightful. So I'll be pointing my next question to Madam Deborah. And the question is, how can local communities adapt to climate change and improve their food supply? How can local communities adapt to climate change and improve their food supply? Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to talk a bit about what my other colleague has said. You and I know that in Africa, generally, we have two sets of farmers. We have the big farmers in quotes, those that can afford everything they need on the farm. But majority of the food that feeds the community, that feed the country, comes from these small other farmers, the rural farmers. And they have a lot of challenges. Some of them have been marginalized because our extension workers are not even getting to them. They have limited access to what is going on in the world. They still practice the primitive way of farming, and this is affecting the big challenge with food security, especially in the developing countries. Coming down to your question, local community, if they have access to much information and what is going on in the world, they can leverage on this local knowledge of the way of the farm. But sometimes they are limited by this land tenure system. They have limited access to land. Some of them have capacity to farm more than the little land that is available to them. So some of them are afraid to even invest more money because they don't know if I plant on this farm, it can be taken away from me. But if they can adapt to this climate change that we're talking about, that especially this year, we face a lot of issues. The climate is unpredictable again. We expect rain, it comes too much. Sometimes the temperature is too high, and that's caused a lot of havoc to food security. So some of the things that can be done to mitigate this issue is like a mixed farming, planting of cover crops sometimes to preserve the soil from this degradation. If the temperature is high, you plant cover crop, it conserves the soil moisture, and also put the farmer at low risk if one aspect of the planting fails, another one can come up, and also enhance the biodiversity of the local community. And they can also practice this agroforestry, planting of trees with food crops. This also helps to mitigate this climate change issue. And they can also practice crop rotation. These plant maize, plant, so that they enhance the biodiversity and also break chains of pests and diseases that can have effect on farmers' income. We can also try as much as possible to do bush fallowing. Before the land tenure system, this land tenure system is used, there is what we call bush fallowing. They plant for some years on the plant, like say like 7 years, they leave the farm to fallow, move to another location. But since this land tenure system it has hampered that farming practices because it is said that the government owns the land. The farmer will be afraid to move to another place to go and farm because it can be hijacked for him at any point in time. So many things are going on, but the little the farmers are doing, they are doing. With the little knowledge that's available to them, the little resources available to them. I'm talking about the small farmer because I deal with mostly with the rural farmers. I'm not talking about this big the invest the seed as investment. I'm talking about the people that are really feeding the economy. Thank you.
All right, Ma. Thank you very much, Ma. And that was very, very insightful and impactful also. And this is a call to our farmers, I mean to our government to assist these small scale farmers. And as you have said, it is this farmers that don't have enough of resources that provide things that we eat in our communities. And we just need to help them with information and resources that they could need for that. Thank you very much, Ma. So my next question will be going to Mr. Emeka. And my question will be, what new farming method or tools can help us deal with climate change while producing more food in the society? Thank you, sir. I hope you get my question, sir.
Yes, I do.
All
All
right,
right.
thank you very much, sir.
Thank you again for that question. Maybe let me add that most of the things I'll be sharing here will be from lived experiences and from my experiences interacting with farmers as an extension officer. So the very first thing I feel that farmers should embrace, particularly in Nigeria and Africa, is regenerative agriculture. Now, regenerative agriculture is not entirely new. So in simple terms, that means kind of reviving the soil after a period of time. Now, a research was carried out, by my team who went to the Kingdom of Thailand for a training, and they were told that the African soil lacks so much organic matter. So the African soil cannot produce like the soil in the Western world. So they were asked, why is it so? They said that the African soil is low in organic matter. Now, mind you, right now in the Western world, there is autumn. Trees are already shedding their leaves. And these leaves are introduced into the farms to regenerate the soil. Right. So this is one thing I feel African farmers should embrace. Although we don't have autumn, we can embrace regenerative agriculture to revive the soil. So that means lesser use of chemical fertilizers and a holistic embrace of organic farming and the whole thing about composting and food recycling. Then number two is vertical farming. Now, Bama Deborah had talked about land tenure system. So for me, based on experience, I believe that vertical farming will go a long way in solving this problem. And also, Mr. Shira raised the matter of soil. So I am of the opinion that soil is an aspect of farming because right now people are substituting other substrates like sawdust, like rice husk for soil. So with this medium, several planting media, you can have a vertical farm, and that way you can utilize even your small space, right? Then the next is drip irrigation system. Based on my experience with farmers, I see that some persons are still using overhead irrigation. And for crops like tomato, pepper that are very susceptible to fungal diseases, they don't need much humid environment. So you see some farmers still manual watering and using overhead irrigation method. So the whole thing about embracing drip irrigation method will also help. Now, in the area of animal farming, there should be something like rotational grazing. You mustn't graze a place until there's so much erosion that harms the environment, right? Then there's also the place of alternative energy sources. Because right now, as Mama Deborah had mentioned, we had lingering dry season or drought season in Nigeria, even up until now. So some farmers who are wise have, migrated to alternative energy sources. But I want to be specific about biogas. I saw on the media, a company in India. What they do is that they collect waste from the market, from the farms, and then convert these things into biogas, which they use in running their farms. And this waste, the end product of that biogas is organic fertilizer, which they use in their farms again. So you see that cycle going around. So these are the simple indigenous method, because when we are making recommendations, we should recommend indigenous method that these rural farmers, these small rural farmers who are the food soldiers of our economy can afford. So we are recommending local content and indigenous methods. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir. That was very, very broad, and you even gave more highlights to what we have been discussing so far. So before you go, sir, Mr. Emeka, I want you to answer a question for us again that is relating to what you have just said. So, what new farming method, or what can government do to support farmers in using climate smart practices? Because now there's a lot of method that they can use, but how can the government support these farmers in using all these tools so that it can be using it for their practices, for their farms and other things? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you for that question. Now, I believe that government is only a stakeholder in food production. There are several other stakeholders. So for me, the role that government will have to play primarily is the place of incentives, providing incentives to these farmers. Recently, I was in a meeting and I asked the SA to our president and the SA to the Minister of State for Environment what plans they have to kind of offer some kind of emolument to farmers who had, undergone the whole climate change issues in Nigeria. What plans do they have? And they have no plans, as a matter of fact. So you see that government is already failing the aspect of incentives and supporting these farmers. Now, a place where I feel government will be so helpful is in the area of training. These farmers need to be trained on climate smart agricultural practice, which is as simple as planting trees, moringa trees around their farms. So, and recently I went for farm visit to a farmer here in Lagos, Nigeria, and I saw that this man is using solar generator. I've never seen that kind of thing in my life. And he said that it was donated to them by the government, and that product is in short supply. It didn't go around because maybe somebody might have diverted it. So, and I asked him how much is that product going for in the market. He said it's about 700,000. So many farmers have gone out of business because they can't afford that simple solar pump. So you see, if government can offer some of these incentives, maybe not in the form of cash, but in some of these products that will make farmers' lives easier, I feel we will start solving this problem of food insecurity. They'll be encouraged to go into the farm. Then lastly is the place of off-taking. Yeah, because some of these farmers, they produce some of these crops and they have the challenge of transporting them. So if they are sure that the moment they are producing these things, somebody is taking it away from them, it will encourage them to do more. So, and right now they have to battle even cost of preservation, cost of keeping them from spoiling. So if the government can come to help in this area, I feel their problems will be half solved. Thank you.
Wow, that was very good. I think the farmers actually need those incentives because that could help a lot of them. And I think they also need information. Most of them don't even know how to solve their problems. So I think government can also do this and help them. Thank you very much, sir. So I'll be throwing back my question to Mr. Shedrack. Um, sir, we have talked about the tools, we have talked about the government supporting the farmers. So now, how can we ensure food remain affordable and accessible despite the climate changes? How do we ensure that, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, but allow me to go back to what Emeka said. You remember I started by saying that soil is a critical element. But then we need to add that water is also an essential element in terms of food production. And because we are talking about climate change and food systems, we need to relate first the climate change and the climate change adaptation and water. So the irrigation that we're talking about, water is going to be available. If water is available, then we can be able to produce food. So when we're talking about, when you asked me the first question, so what are the challenges? One of the other challenges that we have is most African countries are water scarce countries, including my country, Kenya. So if we want to solve the challenges that are related to food productivity, then we must look at water conservation. So we must deal with the issues of policies that are around that run around water conservation. So going back to your question, I want you to.
Hello, sir. Oh, is that the network?
Yes, I guess he has a network issue there. So let's just give him a minute.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's proceed. While he gets back his network, please. Madam Deborah, I just have one more question for you before we round up, and this is very, would I say personal, or I don't know. So how can reducing food waste help both hunger and climate change? Because I realize that we waste a lot of food, even though we try to say, okay, there's no food here, there's no, but we waste a lot of food. How can reducing food waste help both hunger and climate change? Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Um, Reducing food waste has a lot of benefits. First, we see that most of this food that are being wasted is divided from the downstream to the upstream. The food wastage starts from the production of food till it gets to the consumer. From the downstream, from the production stage, we can the food wastage can be um, can be reduced, can be combated by doing what we call precision agriculture. It has helped a lot because it will also help in the input wastage. If I know the number of seed I'm to plant per acre, I go straight and plant. Like Mr. Shedak has said, having done the soil test, I know what the soil is good for. I don't try to start guessing. I plant this year, it's wasted. I try another year to plant another thing, it got wasted. By the time the soil test after that been taken care of, I know what I need to plant per hectare. I go straight to plant. And Mr. Emeka also talked about drip irrigation. It helps us to conserve water. So if we can reduce wastage, it helps us to save a lot of resources. We save inputs, we save a lot of resources, and it also helps farmer to cut costs. At the end of the day, it enhances productivity. And the farmer will now have enough benefits. It enhances the economic life of the farmer. It's not because we are able to convert some of the resources. And another thing is that it reduces green gas emission that's emitted to the atmosphere. Because most of these wastage food that are being wasted constitute a lot of gases that are harmful to health and it's being released to the atmosphere. For example, when we have too much of livestock waste, it releases methane to the atmosphere, and this causes green gas emission and also lead to this climate change we are talking about. The funnest part of it is that agriculture, food wastage in agriculture from the downstream and the upstream, it releases gas emission about 26% to the atmosphere. At the end of the day, it's this agriculture that are having the impact also. Because these gases are being emitted, this climate change is affecting food system and agricultural food production. It's affecting the agricultural supply chain from production till it gets to the consumer. And even the food waste where it's gotten from transportation, from storage at the upstream, from transportation, from processing, from storage, from to the retailer, all those things, all these wastages are combined together. It really impacts the climate negatively. So if we can try as much as possible to cut these food wastages, it will help it will boost the farmers' income precision agriculture is being done. So it conserves the biodiversity, it conserves the soil, it conserves the water, and no inputs are being wasted. And at the end of the day, we are good to go. At the end of the day, it ensures food security.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. And I can confirm from that that it was when I was leaving school, we had a project where we had to see where vegetables produce cooking gases, and that was my first experience. I was like, how would vegetable be producing And it was actually, we saw how it was done, processed, and I was like, wow. So if all these things are wasted around, that means the gas will be emitted. Meanwhile, it could be turned into cooking gas. These are the things that people need to know, the information they need to know. And thank you very much for sharing that. It was very, very impactful. Thank you, ma. And Mr. Shedrack, would you like to
Yeah,
go back to your question? There
yeah.
was a
Please,
network
can you can you
glitch.
can you can you ask me the question because I think I
All
lost
right,
you.
all right. I'll do that. So the question was, how can we ensure food remain affordable and accessible despite climate challenges?
Uh,
Do you get that,
thank,
sir?
yeah. Got it.
All
Thank you
right,
very
thank
much.
you.
And one of the one of the challenges that we are having and the issues that we're exploring with most of the people who are in the food system is how to shorten the food value chain. How do we ensure that people are consuming what is produced locally? And what has brought up this issue is because of the COVID-19. We realize that if there is a shock somewhere, then you are not able to get food that is being imported into the country. So there is an encouragement and motivation for people to start looking at local production and consuming local food products. This way, it means it's going to have a ripple effect that if you are going to produce food within a locality, people will eat from that food, and it means that also helps to develop that community. So what is happening is exploring how countries are going to be self-reliant in terms of food productivity. One,
I think the network is also having a glitch. I think,
we
okay.
are supposed to consume. So
I think the network is really, really vast, but I think we have been able to get one or two things from what he has said, and we just have to start farming locally. If we can access farmers within our communities, I think instead of us importing other things that we need to eat, there will be access to it, and the cost will be lower than us importing rice. There are people who are growing rice here, and it is being manufactured well. Why not eat locally? Why would I have to import something that I can access locally? I think that is the aspect he's trying to talk about. So I'm sorry, the network was very, very bad. So I'll be asking one last question, and this cut across every of our guest speaker today. And the question is, um, what should countries do together to build strong food system that can handle climate change? Because I think this is like looking like a solution, but we need more insights on it. So what should countries do together to build strong food system that can handle climate change? So let me start from Mr. Emeka, then I go back to Madam Deborah, then we have Mr. Shedra. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The question of what countries can do as far as I'm concerned, even my own little effort, I've seen that the problem of food security or food insecurity cannot be solved by solo effort. Note this word. It can only be solved by synergistic effort between individuals, organizations, government, and countries. Yeah, so having said that, let me maybe add a layer of thought to what Mr. Shirak has said about how we can, and we entails countries, nations, individuals. One of the ways we can ensure food security is that everybody eats food, right? And of course, I believe that it's our collective business to ensure that food is produced ideally, and our collective responsibility to ensure that there is responsible consumption. Because in this time and age, we are talking about food insecurity. You'll be surprised that some places are wasting food, right? So I believe that everybody should get involved in food production. As a matter of fact, where I am in Lagos, I moved in here just September last year. I mean, I moved in by September this year. I've already been a year here in Lagos. And I can boldly state to you that within this 1 year period, I've trained over 500 farmers in home gardening. They farm tomatoes, they farm pepper, they farm some of those basic things they buy from the market. So embracing urban farming is the way we as individuals can work together. Community farming, I see estates. I go to the estate and say, look, real estate is one of the biggest problems as far as climate change and food security is concerned in Nigeria. People go declare lands, no plans for home gardens, no plan for estate gardens, no nothing. I tell them, this estate, I'm making a proposal. I'm going to pay you for free to set up gardens in your backyards and across your homes. Many of them embraced. I went to churches, I went to communities. In fact, as it stands now, I'm trying to get the military, body in the state, in the place we are living in Badagry. So everybody must take responsibility. They must take ownership of our food system. Now, for the government, they have a role to play at their level. Then the place of partnership in terms of training, technological transfer, they must come into place. Knowledge transfer must come into place because young people are not in, I'm speaking as an advocate for the younger generation. Younger generation are not yet interested because we have not made agriculture interesting to them. One of the ways government can do this is by introducing technology, sending it to universities, because I go to universities, I say that students of agriculture are not interested in agriculture. So government at all levels across countries should make agriculture attractive by introduction of simple technologies. As a matter of fact, drip irrigation can be automated. So some of these students can be told the nexus between what they are studying and food security. That way, you see many young persons trooping into agriculture. And when the youth are involved, note this, when the youth are involved, then it can be sustainable, because what we're talking about now is sustainable agriculture. It's going to be sustained across generation. And of course, it's going to be responsibly done in a way that doesn't hurt planet, people, and of course, individuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And I like the fact that you are encouraging the urban farming. Everybody should have a farm in their house, regardless of where you are, at your backyard. You need to have, I can see in your backyard that you have a farm already. Sorry. And that is your background, but that is wonderful, just encouraging us. So let's have your Madam Deborah.
Yeah, what can we do to combat this problem? Globally, 1/3 of food produce are being wasted. So it's a global concern. It's not limited to a particular region or country. So I think collaboration across various regions and the world at large is very, very important. Another thing is that government should make policies that are agricultural sustainability relevant. If you look at most of these developing countries, the governments are not concerned about making policy that promotes producing food sustainably. And even if they are not being enforced. So the institutions that are in custody of this policy, they should be monitored and see that these policies are being enforced. If it is enforced, you see that these food wastages will be reduced. And government should also be involved in research and development. Like my brother Emeka said, the world is evolving. Technology is all over everywhere. So research and development cannot be, the effect of research and development cannot be overemphasized. There should be research and development. From this, we can be able to get data. You know what is peculiar, the problem that's peculiar to each region, to each country, you know how to tackle it. The problem that's peculiar to Nigeria, most of to Africa in general, is most of these farmers are illiterate. So you cannot, the approach that you use there, you cannot go and use it in Europe. Most of their own problem is maybe climate. And as the climate problem is coming, they are mitigating, they are adapting. But in developing countries, we still have a long way to go. And sometimes we might not be able to handle it unless there's collaboration from developed countries. We see what they are doing, what is working. They're just starting. We can adapt it to our situation. What they have passed through, we can learn from them and adapt it. So if the synergy is there, if the policies are formulated, if there is research and development, if there's global connectivity, I think we'll be able to solve this problem of food insecurity and this climate change. You know, the world is a global village. As the gas is being emitted, you don't know where it will land, you don't know where it will have effect. So it is a global concern. The countries are not concerned. Europe is not concerned. America is not. So we have to collaborate together. And as this is come, we will train our farmers at the local level in the way they will understand. We can have a demonstration farm because some of these farmers they are used to the way they have been planting. It might be difficult to convince them. But if you do demonstration farm at each where they can see it, they see the yield based on their own plot, and they see for the demonstration farm the yield that comes from there, they be convinced. And if the government supports them, give them the necessary infrastructure that is needed, give them access to some of these roads, the road to these farms are not motorable. So that's what sometimes causes food wastage. Before they transport to the farm, the judge of what they are in my place of work, we see them a lot. Food being wasted, the farmers will be crying, there's nobody to mitigate this risk for them. And so if the farmers, the government have a long way to go and enforce the policy. Sometimes the policies are there. They are just inactive. They are not being enforced. I think if all this can be put in place, we have a robust food security in our country, across Africa and in the globe.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. Thank you so much. And that was really, really touching. Because we just need to do all these things, they are necessary. The research and development, government policies, and making sure we demonstrate the farming to the farmers. Because yes, it is true that they are used to their ways of farming, and bringing in technology or some kind of thing to them doesn't look like it's going to work. Imagine telling a farmer that you want to help them use drone to plant their cassava, and they're like, what do you mean? Do you know how many years I've been farming? You want to you understand that kind of discussion? They need to see, they need to see it work, then they can believe in it. Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you so much for that. Mr. Shedrack, let's have you, please. Consider there is network. We are so sorry for that. I know that it's really given a challenge. So we can have you, sir, Mr. Shedrack. You're muted, sir.
I think the question is that what are countries going to do to combat climate change and ensure there is food security?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm happy that Deborah and Emeka have spoken about the government, and now because I've been working in government for 10 years, just like you had, I have a different view because I think when we talk about government, we leave out the citizens. Citizens are part of the government. And how are they part of the government? Public participation. I think for the longest time, people have thought that when you elect people, that they have the ideas of what you need. But essentially, they don't have all that you need. You need to tell them what you need such that they can sign on what you need. That is why it is becoming extremely important that in every policy making process, the people must be at the center. They must be involved. So then how countries are going to address these issues? Number one, we must get the information to the people. And that's why when I started, I said, we must start thinking about how to build the communities. And Deborah said that we have two types of farmers. We are not, when we are in these meetings, I dare say that we are not talking about the farmers, those big people with big money, because these people who have big money, who have big business in terms of agribusiness, they have no idea what the farmers are supposed to are doing. In fact, I read somewhere and it is said that the most effective way that we are going to address climate change is through local action. And who is in the local areas? Small scale farmers. So we must look at how to empower the farmers with the information, with all the technologies and information that is there. We need to figure out as governments and as people how we get this information to the farmers, empower the farmers to ask for what they want. And I think if we do that, if we empower and build the capacity of small scale farmers, then we can be sure that we are going to have enough numbers that are going to influence the policies that inform the development and the transformation of the food system. I hope I was clear.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And that was very, very informative. As you also want the farmers to also get the information, because it is very, very important that we inform them about what they need to do and how they need to do them, because they need that information. It is very, very critical. The more we talk about all this, the more we need to take it to them, take it closer to them, and make them understand, oh, okay, you can do this like this, you can do that like that, and make them know, okay, you can receive help from here or get help from there. So, Mr. Femi, you have the mic, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Yetunde, for granting me the opportunity to quickly speak at this moment. I sincerely want to commend all our speakers. They have sincerely done justice to all the questions asked, and in fact, my notes is filled up already, and I ready to take action. Well, I have some view that I wish we can discuss, though time will fail us to consider all those views, but let me just see how far I can go with some of them. So the first one I really want to I want us to consider is the role of education in our point of discussion. I remember when I was in secondary school, agricultural science is a compulsory subject to all students. That actually did a lot of thing to our mindsets, in which we have school gardens, we have school farm, that we have this practical demonstration by teachers, we have time for theory, we have time for practical, we are taken to farm and all those things. But now my country, it's so saddens that our heart that it's now an optional course, an optional subject. And I see no reason why that should be done. A situation whereby the student, right from inception of school down to secondary school, down to tertiary institution, has no discussion around agricultural science. I mean, how do you expect that person to get engaged in agricultural practices? And do you know, the bitter aspect of this is that it is some of these people that even have access to large access to large lands to practice agriculture, and it's just there wasting. And the person that even have interest in doing that is struggling to even get just a plot of land to get it done. It's I don't know, what do you think education is contributing to this? I think we need to, I don't know if there's something we can write to the government, that we need to go back to this practices of ensuring that students get engaged in agricultural science as a subject, not just an optional subject. If mathematics is charging our brain, then agri-science will charge our tummy, that will help the brain to manufacture glucose content properly. This is very, I think Mr. Emeka wants to say something to that.
Mr. Femi, Mr. Femi, as we are speaking, you are hitting at the very core of my heart, because this is the core of my passion, right? Because I've taught I'm not a holder of agricultural science degree. I don't hold any degree in agriculture, but over the years, I've seen myself inspiring and teaching agricultural students across universities. In fact, because of this gap, last year, my team and I reached out to 20 secondary schools in the southern region of Nigeria, helping these students set up school gardens. Now, because of need, some days ago, 3 days ago, I and my team went to see the government, I mean the Commission of Agriculture and Food Security in Lagos State. Now, thankfully, Lagos State on that day inaugurated the Young Farmers Club, re-inaugurated. Now they already have what they are doing at the level of government. When government is driving a project, you can't maybe vouch for that project. But my friends and I are set to launch a project by January. In fact, we are starting out this December in the part of Lagos where we are going to start from here to ensure that 20 schools have modern home gardens. Now, this is what I've done all through my life. So I'm multiplying this effect. Thus far, I've mobilized over 4,000 students across Nigeria for this purpose. So what you said is very right. I've written to schools, say, please, I will volunteer to teach agric science. And I assure you that if I do that for 3 months, 70% of your students want to do agricultural sciences. So the point revolves around presenting agriculture in good light. I'll end with this quote by Femi Adesina, the former Nigerian Minister of Agriculture and the current AFDB president. He said, at this time, students should be going to the museum to see hoes and cutlass. It shouldn't be in our fields anymore. Population is increasing, the global population is increasing, the population of farmers should also increase. So the solution lies in making agriculture attractive to the younger generation. That way, would get them to be involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I just
Mr.
wanted
Emeka,
to jump in a
that.
little bit.
Okay.
Femi, just let me jump in. This evening, I was just thinking about myself. Why did I go to do an agriculture course? Because I went and did communication. It is because of what happened when I was growing up. When we were growing up, there was an unspoken rule that who is supposed to go to the farm is a person who doesn't do well in class or in school. So that inculcated in many of us, those of my, you're a young person, and I know maybe you had this because you are told go and study, but you are not given that opportunity to go to the farm and say you can go to the farm and still do well in school. So that contributed to the mindset that we have currently, that we are trying to get rid of. So there is a lot that needs to be done, not only about people doing education, agricultural courses, but also changing the mindset and what people say at home. Because that way, then we can be able to start changing the perception that agriculture is part of a livelihood, and it is the most important aspect of life, that we need to start from there.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
very
Yeah,
much, sir.
sorry, actually, yeah. So that you have just mentioned, sir, that was actually the second thing I want us to also look into our culture, the mindset behind agriculture, behind farmers, because oftentimes we anybody that wants to go into agriculture, yeah, do you want to end up to be a poor person? That kind of statement. So I hand over to Madam Deborah. She has something to contribute. Thank you, ma.
Yeah, like you said, it's so sad because this agriculture we're talking about is one that is employing over 50% of the youth across the chain. It creates a lot of employment. If we have embraced agriculture as a nation, as a continent, so many people that are jobless will be jobless. Like Mr. Emeka said, he does not read agriculture. He has found his livelihood in agricultural value chain. There are so many people that have seen agriculture as, because the way it's been defined in Africa, we have seen as we study agriculture, we are going to be at the back bench. It's not so in the developed world. I was privileged to be given a scholarship to do my master in the Netherlands. When I got there, I saw that farmers are part of the most influenced people in that place. Their governments have made agriculture so attractive that you want to study agriculture. What do? When they subsidize this food, I have my product. I want to sell at this price. They buy from the farmer at the price I want to sell. Subsidize it to the populace. So even before I get my food in the market, at the production level, immediately I finish production, I have my money. They make it so lucrative that people want to study agriculture. When I go, there's so many courses that we despise here in Nigeria and other agriculture. They are making a lot of money. For example, if somebody goes to university to go and study horticulture now in Nigeria, you look at it, you want to be selling flower at the roadside. But when you get there, it's a lucrative job. So I think our government, like you said, research and development, we need to learn from these people. They are gone ahead of us. And that is what part of what is drawing us back. That is why they made agriculture look less attractive. That is why all of us we are depending on oil and gas. Agriculture can take us out of poverty. If like this younger generation that are coming up, I want to encourage them that they should continue saying it. If we can start at our level, when government sees, even with our government, can they survive without food? It's not possible. There's no profession. There's no profession that can survive without food. If all our little farmers goes on strike, that is when government will know the importance of these people. We will have nothing to eat. So I want to encourage Mr. Emeka, keep up the good work we are doing. Let's make agriculture attractive to this our younger generation. Before we know it, we will keep up with these developed countries. Once they solve the problem of food from their populace. So if we solve the problem, we'll be able to think straight. If food is the problem of getting what to eat, it's easily affordable. They make food affordable for their people, for their citizens. They are not struggling to get food. So that you can think straight, you can develop other areas. I just pray that our government will get it right. And as we have started the advocation at this local level, I pray that we continue with Emeka, continue the good work. Youth people here, continue the good work, continue promoting agriculture. That's the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Sorry yesterday that I'm taking this from you, but I will soon hand it over back to you because anytime we are talking about agriculture, my head is always very high. I'm so passionate about agriculture because I'm a farmer personally. You know, I study statistics, but I'm applying statistics to farming. All right, so Abubakar's answer has been up all the way. Please, Abubakar, can you unmute and speak? Let us hear from you. Let's hear your own contribution.
Hello, good day, everyone. So, am I
Well, you are very audible.
okay? Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Honestly, sincerely speaking, I've learned a lot today, like a whole lot. Though I am into climate and environmental sustainability. Um, I recently actually came up with the idea of introducing school gardens, you understand, to schools that we're actually doing the outreach. Though our previous intervention was just to go to those schools, plant trees with the students. So, but after attending this thing, I got an instance of actually injecting the concept, you understand, of having a school garden. So, which the students actually find it very, very interesting. And one key thing, you understand, I would say that is actually stopping the young people, the youth, you understand, from venturing into agriculture is that we have actually tend to blackmail agriculture. We are just seeing it as something of suffering. Because I believe one of my friends was when I was there, when I told him that this year my 70% of your investment, my focus, I will focus more on agriculture. He was like, what's wrong with you? Are you now an old man? I was like, no, this is what I want to do, and I am actually seeing the impact. He was like, you want to waste your money? Come and invest in crypto. Come and invest in forex. I was like, that's not my calling. That's what I want to do. He was like, there's money in crypto. I told him too, there is money in agriculture. And then, in fact, the profit that I earned, you understand, from my farm, it might be more than his own, what he earned there in the business. So I think what we need to do is to actually tend to visualize agriculture. Let's try to show up agriculture as something good. events or activities like this will actually go a long way. And I would actually like to link up with my boss to actually see to embark on this project so that we will just maybe how will I put it to break it down over to the note. Yeah. So
Instead of a
I would
collaboration.
like so thank you so much. It's actually wonderful. I've learned a lot. So I learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Abubakar. Thank you for that feedback. It's awesome, and we want to commend all our guest speaker this evening. They did justice to this topic. So I won't want to deny Dan Abu to speak. Let's hear from you as we round up this section.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. You are.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sorry, I've been on and off. While we started, I was on my way from somewhere. I joined. Maybe still referring to what have been discussed during my break time. A lot of issues have been raised in here concerning climate change, the impact and the implications. And actually, when we talk about climate change, you see that the implication ranges from that pest infestation to even droughts, the sporadic rainfall and the unpredicted rainfall and all that. There are also our own as a human factor and government factor that are also attributive to that, which are even making the impact of this climate change uh, more impactful negatively to us. So every time I try to like think if government will not help, if the climate change impact persist, how am I going to be able to do my agro business and be resilient to all these negative impact? So I was thinking, okay, we now need to think of resilience agriculture. And the method that me I'm using and actually advocate for is this using of let's say leguminous perennial crops, specifically pigeon pea. Pigeon pea. Why that now is that I experimented with that last year. I planted pigeon pea, harvested it. This year again, I mean, where I am now in Jos, I've not gone to my village. I've not sprayed any other herbicide, but that pigeon pea is there to be harvested in December, God's willing. And then we also need to also, as young as we are, to think of planting trees, planting pawpaw, planting palm oil, palm fruit, palm trees and all that. So that these are the things that they can withstand drought, they can withstand sporadic rainfall and unpredictable rainfall. And even when they are affected by pests, you have a longer time to attend to them. So that's just my contribution. I really want us to see how we can, with the knowledge that we have, be able to have an impact or make a resilience impact in agriculture using the methodology that we already know. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dan, for that contribution. Yes, it's important. We need to think outside the box to ensure that agriculture keep moving because that's the fuel to every human being. If we are talking about sustainability, it starts from food. So I really want to appreciate everybody, starting from our guest speaker. Now I'm going to the record. I'm rounding up this section. So thank you so much, Mr. Emeka. You really did well. Thank you, Mr. Shadrach, Salitu, sir, and our powerful man on call, Madam Deborah. We say a very big thank you. On behalf of the entire leadership of ADF Africa, we want to sincerely appreciate you for making today's section of SDG Roundtable series a successful one and an interesting one. As a matter of fact, I want to propose that this discussion should have a 52. If you want to, if you are with me, put it in the chat box that you want this discussion next month. You can put it in the chat box because we still have a whole lot of issues to discuss around agriculture and climate change, and to ensure that we have solution to the issue of food security that is affecting the globe. Thank you so much. We have a lot of information that we have taken notes. We have what I will just round up with is we need to collaborate together. We don't have to let the elderly ones keep trekking long distance to go and practice agriculture, where the youth just sit at home and keep consuming the food. So we need to come together as a whole, as a youth, think outside the box. Even back in the days, in ancient days, our parents, they have this system that they come together. So they'll go to the first person's farm today, they assist on that person's farm, they move to another person's, the next person, and they do it all around. And before you know what's going on, due to that synergy, work is done faster, a better idea is brought even in their discussion, and a lot of things are done. So we need to collaborate together and ensure that we have a solution to the problem of food security that is battling the entire world. On behalf of ADF Africa, I want to sincerely appreciate us once again. Thank you for making today an interesting one. And to our speaker, we can't appreciate you enough. Thank you and stay blessed. Over to you, Yetunde.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Femi. And I must say today was a very wonderful section. Thank you, our speakers. Thank you, Mr. Maker. Thank you, Mr. Shedra. And thank you, Madam Deborah. Thank you all participants who joined us for this call. This has been a wonderful experience. And please make sure you collaborate and connect. And for you to get more information about ADF Africa, please follow us on all our social media handles where you can get updates of our program and subsequent roundtable series so that you can get a lot of more information. I can see that a lot of us have enjoyed this section and learn a lot. So for you to learn more, please follow us on our social media handles. We are also on YouTube. You can get these recordings on YouTube while you follow us on our social media handles. So have a wonderful evening or afternoon wherever you are. Thank you very much for listening to us, for having us here on behalf of ADF Africa. Thank you, everyone. Bye.